Filmmaker Ken Burns' latest documentary explores the life of Italian artist, inventor, scientist Leonardo da Vinci, a Renaissance man in every sense of the word. Burns is talking with our Renaissance man, David Pogue.
Ever since he got a movie camera for his 17th birthday, Ken Burns has been making documentaries. Over the years, he's created 36 documentary series for PBS, all of them about American history. But now...
Well, let's talk about the big news. After decades of making first-class documentaries, you have a new haircut.
So Tom Brokaw told me when I turned 60 that I needed a big boy haircut. And I sort of punted. And so now that I'm 71, I've had a bigger boy haircut lately, yeah. So breaking news.
Yeah.
But seriously, there is some news. He's just made his first project ever that's not about an American subject. It's called Leonardo da Vinci.
It was just getting to know one of the most incredibly interesting human beings who has ever walked the earth. And the fact that he turns out to be arguably the greatest painter and certainly the greatest scientist of his age is, extra added. It's so hard to make a film.
Burns co-directed the show with his daughter Sarah Burns and her husband David McMahon. We all met up at New York's American Museum of Natural History.
You're choosing as your subject somebody, there's no video, there's no photography. How do you make 4 hours on a person who essentially doesn't exist?
He most definitely exists in the records that he's left.
He left behind these 6,000 some odd notebook pages with all of these different studies, geology, physics, all of his preparatory studies for his paintings, grocery lists, to-do lists.
You're going to speak to the art historians, you're going to speak to the biographers, you're going to find people who are influenced him across several disciplines.
Leonardo would paint portraits, draw futuristic machines, and make meticulous observations in dozens of notebooks.
What emerges is a portrait of a genius who's not just a painter, not just a scientist, not just an inventor.
Leonardo drew muscles, bones, and organs.
He wants to know everything about everything. So he's dissecting a cadaver because he wants to understand how the heart works and how the body works, all towards creating a painting that is more lifelike, more believable, more alive.
It's one just gigantic volume of material asking fundamental, basic questions. Where did I come from? Where am I going? How does the universe work? I mean, these are things that occupied him every single moment of every single day.
What also emerges is a man who rarely finished anything.
He attempted how many paintings and finished how many?
There's fewer than 20 paintings that exist today, and probably less than half of those are actually finished, we think.
He was also coming across in this film as a world-class procrastinator.
Well, I don't think there's any procrastination involved. I think things are left unfinished or undelivered to patrons because the questions that he was asking of this work for himself had been satisfied.
Being interested in so many different things as he was, that there's always the next thing, a new question, something else that comes along that takes away his attention.
Two things Da Vinci did finish, though, are among the most famous paintings ever made.
Well, The Last Supper was a very commonly painted subject for Leonardo's time. Leonardo discovers a completely different thing happening than most other painters had. This is Christ telling his disciples that one of them is going to betray him. And he puts them in groups, and so one is putting his hand over his eyes, another is reaching for a knife, and so it becomes a painting that feels like seconds unfolding. It makes you feel like he would have been a filmmaker today had he lived in our time.
I think he invents film. There's a kind of inherent dynamism and movement to it that's just, it's exquisite.
He also made this painting.
In order for him to be a great painter, he has to understand the circulatory system. He has to understand about hair. He has to understand about geography and rock formations and mist and how atmosphere works. And so My wish is that nobody ever makes a joke about her smile ever again, because she is embodying the entire human project in that thing.
If you've ever edited photos or videos on an iPhone or a Mac, you may already know one of Burns's favorite editing techniques.
Arms, heads, blankets, guns, and knapsacks were tossed into the clear air.
Zooming or panning across a still image.
It's a process of trying to shake alive something that is two-dimensional and make it dimensional and real.
But the new documentary, narrated by Keith David, introduces techniques that will be very new to Burns aficionados. Split screens that juxtapose old and modern footage.
He was a lateral thinker. He made connections across all of these disciplines. Showing multiple things on screen at the same time was a way of, in some ways, visually illustrating Leonardo's thought process.
What is the balance of labor here? How do you guys work together?
Dave and I are the writers of this, and then once we have our script, we begin our editing process. And that's when we get in there all together and work on making it better together. Occasionally we disagree about what that should be.
But doesn't he automatically win because he's Ken Burns?
No, that doesn't work. That doesn't wash with collaboration.
But now it's done, it's delivered to PBS, and you know that it's perfect. You wouldn't change it.
Many of Leonardo's designs were ornithopters, machines that relied on the human-powered flapping of wings to achieve flight.
Leonardo da Vinci airs on PBS in mid-November. It's the story of a fascinating man and an astonishing life.
Real knowledge, he believed, was found in nature and best gained through observation and experience.
He could feel, I think, quite rightfully, that he had lived a fuller life than practically anybody I've ever come across in any study in any period.